This is an AI-generated podcast based on the article Freed, Not Fired: How Brittany DeRoche Turned Unexpected Loss into a National Church Consulting Ministry, written by April. The article link is in the show notes. Welcome to Kingdom Factor Collective. I'm your host, April, and today I'm sitting down with Brittany DeRoche, founder of Church Activation Strategies, a national consulting practice that helps churches put their underused spaces to work through childcare partnerships and community programming. Brittany, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, April. I'm really excited to be here and share what God has been doing.
So, I want to start at the beginning, or really the moment everything changed. You were 6 years into a company, working 2 roles at once, days away from a promotion you'd been promised, and then you were fired in December. What was that like?
Yeah, it was a shock. I had been loyal, I was productive, I was literally in the middle of training my replacement for one of the roles. There had been talk of a promotion for months, and then just gone. No salary, 3 young kids at home, 1 in college. It was a lot.
And then someone said something to you that kind of reframed the whole thing. Can you tell me about that?
Right, so a trusted connection, she looked at me and said, "You weren't fired, you were freed." And it stopped me in my tracks, Because when I actually sat with that, I could see where God was protecting me, that I was really made for more. And that's how I launched my business.
That's a powerful reframe. But I want to back up even further, because your story doesn't start with the firing. You've been in, genuinely impossible situations before. Ovarian cancer at 19, heart failure after your second child. How do those experiences shape the way you show up now as a founder?
So here's what happened. With the cancer, doctors thought it was a routine surgery for an ovarian cyst, and they found a tumor the size of an ostrich egg, stage 3, rare type. The only reason they caught it was because I had already had my first daughter at a young age. She saved my life, literally. If that tumor had ruptured, I wouldn't be here. And then, years later, heart failure after my second child, my heart function dropped to 15%. Doctors weren't sure I'd make it through the night.
15%. And yet, you went on to complete a half Ironman and multiple half marathons after that, after doctors told you you'd never race again.
I told my doctor it's a good thing I don't run marathons. I do ultras. He just looked at me like I had 3 heads. But honestly, those experiences are the bedrock of who I am. I've stood at the edge of impossible more than once, and every single time I chose to trust God anyway. So when the firing happened, I already knew what it felt like to be told something was over and then watch God say, "Actually, hold on."
That's such a consistent thread through your whole story. And it connects to how you even got into the church consulting space in the first place, which you didn't grow up in this world, right? You came in as a project manager, not a theologian.
Not at all. I grew up Catholic. I didn't really know non-denominational culture. I didn't know the big names in evangelical circles. I was hired for my project management skills 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down. And then about a month into the role, I remembered something. A woman at a home church had told me a year earlier that she had seen a vision of me working as an administrator in the church. I had completely brushed it off, but standing in that job, it just hit me. I felt like God was saying, "Hey, you remember that? You're a project administrator working with churches. Holy cow, I am on God's path."
That's a wild moment. You could have dismissed it again, but something clicked. And then the childcare partnership work developed out of that role. Can you unpack that a little? Because that's really the core of what Church Activation Strategies does now.
Yes, so about 3 years in, I was asked to research childcare providers who might want to partner with churches on underutilized space. There was no process, no system, literally just a Word document. So I built the framework from scratch, started leading the calls, and before long, the work just became mine. And what I saw was this genuinely elegant solution, Childcare providers are struggling to find affordable space, and churches are sitting on these incredible buildings that are largely empty Monday through Saturday. It's 2 real problems that solve each other. And I started closing partnerships, something that hadn't been done before me at the company. It lit me up in a way that felt less like a job and more like a calling. And then it was taken. But your husband pushed you forward. He did. He said, "You built this for them. Why not build it for yourself? I have 100% faith you can rebuild this." And that was it. I filed the LLC, set up the business infrastructure, and then I flew out to Colorado Springs on miles to reconnect with faith leaders and city officials I'd met through a speaking engagement the year before. And okay, this is one of those God moments. My flight home gets grounded by a snowstorm. I'm stuck in the hotel an extra day. I go downstairs, and there's a church networking conference happening in the lobby, one I had no idea was happening.
No way.
I got coffee for the woman at the registration desk. I threw something away near two guys who were talking and just jumped into the conversation. I met pastors. I handed out my logo, and I called my husband and could barely contain myself. He asked, "Isn't this one of those God moments?" And I said, "Yes, it's a God wink."
I love that. And you're still early in building this. You launched in January. The finances are tight. The uncertainty is real. What does faith actually look like in that day-to-day tension?
It's honest prayer, It's not pretty, polished faith. It's desperate faith sometimes. But I have seen God show up more in this season than I ever imagined. We've somehow been able to stay afloat on one income when we couldn't figure it out before. It's all God. I bring to this work the perspective of a mom who was on a childcare waiting list, the operational discipline of a project manager, and the conviction of someone who knows, not theoretically, from actual lived experience, that God redeems what looks like ruin.
That's such a grounded way to put it. Brittany, if someone is listening right now and they're in their own version of a December firing, the thing they worked for just got taken, what would you want them to hear?
I would say the lane you built in someone else's house may have always been preparation for the house God intended you to build yourself, because that's exactly what happened to me. And God was like, "Hold on tight. I'm here. I'm going to walk you through this storm. Things were disrupted, but I'm going to be in this." Does that make sense? None of it was random. Not the cancer, not the heart failure, not the firing. It was all building something.
It makes complete sense. Brittany, thank you so much for sharing your story, the full story, not just the headlines. It's one of those conversations I think people are going to come back to. For everyone listening, you can find links to connect with Brittany and learn more about church activation strategies in the show notes. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. We'll see you next time on Kingdom Factor Collective.